All right, so who's after Harvey? Maru. I'm trying to think about it alphabetically. Honestly, in my head, I'm not thinking about it alphabetically. I'm thinking, what order did I make those videos in? I think Maru was next. All right, Maru and Spring. Hi, you must be the new farmer everyone's talking about. I'm Maru. It's nice to meet you. Everything seems so fresh in the spring. It's like living in a big, delicious salad bowl. Yes. They do that a lot in Stardew Valley, of like, a character says something and then the next line will be like, what? Or like, why are you looking at me like that? That's funny, a big delicious salad bowl. Her meeting dialogue is different because her meeting dialogue, as it is in the finished game, is really interesting, I think. And she says, I've been looking forward to meeting you. With a small town like this, a new face can really alter the community dynamic. Which just shows she's very observant, and also she's like searching for change. She wants things to be shaken up, you know? As opposed to this, where she's just like, it's nice to meet you. Which is quite generic. On Fridays I work at Harvey's clinic. He says he likes having me around in case his medical equipment goes haywire. Plan on spending a lot of time with my telescope this summer. How do you feel about space? It's okay, it's interesting, it's depressing. If you say it's okay, I guess she says, I guess not everyone gets excited about it as me, that's okay. You say it's great or it's interesting, she says, you think so too, that's great. If you say it's depressing, she says, depressing, I guess everyone has their own interests. Do you know my dad, Demetrius? He's a scientist. I have a lot of fun helping him out in the laboratory. Sorry if I seem cranky. I'm a little sore from work yesterday. I had to carry 10 boxes of medical files to the attic. Oh my god, 10 boxes, that's crazy. Why are you blinking at me? What's going on now? Okay, so she's carried 10 boxes of medical files. Oh, her life is so hard. Do you have fun working on the farm? Awesome. Yikes, I'm sorry. Stop by our house, we need you to upgrade your buildings. I like the way the air smells today. Did she say that? No, she doesn't say that. I like the way the air smells today. In spring. That's cute. I like that. That's another little quirk or writing, I don't know, device that I've noticed is people going like, is that odd? Like, is that weird that I said that? Do you think that's wrong? And I think it makes sense that a lot of those were taken out. Like Hayla going like, oh, the only thing I like about this town is the beach. Do you think that's wrong? I still think you need it. Yeah, I don't think you need it. Like at Harvey's clinic, is there anything you want to talk to me about? I think that stuff is all pretty normal. Of course, you'll know that. So this is the event, I think this is her 4-heart event where she drops the samples and that seems the same. So either, yeah, she drops the sample and you can say, oh, Harvey won't notice. You can say, oh, say that it was my fault. Or you can say, tell him the truth. And then this one is probably the event, I think it's her 6-heart event, yeah, where you look at through the telescope at space and stuff. And then her 8-heart event, where she accidentally like electrocutes you. This says cut, so I guess maybe she used to accidentally cut you instead of accidentally electrocute you. So we go to summer. It's going to be a great year for stargazing. Oops, sorry, I forgot that outer space makes you depressed. Okay, wait, so P2. If I go back to the one we were just looking at in spring. So it's response to say it's depressing. Yeah, so I guess that she would remember what your answer had been. And they don't do that kind of thing a lot in Stardew Valley. They don't remember what you say because there's a certain complexity to that. That would have been nice. I think it would have been nice. Because yeah, it just adds a certain, feels like you're actually talking to them. Feels like less static. Because right now, when you play the game, it's just the exact same dialogue lines all the time. I feel that especially with Shane, like every single time it rains, if I'm trying to get certain dialogue lines off of him, I'm like, well, I won't bother because every single time it rains, he says, this weather makes me thirsty. Every time. You know, it'd be nice if it like changed up sometimes. Are you enjoying the season? It's been so warm this year. Sorry, I was just thinking about some gadgets I'm making. Someday I'm going to build a robot. How does that sound? Did she say that? Search for robot. Okay, so this is the game as it is now. You can answer, that should be very easy for you. You should be more realistic. It sounds challenging. And in the previous version, she would say, how does that sound? So she's like asking for your approval kind of, as opposed to the game as it is now where she just says, I'm going to build a robot. So there's a certain confidence in her abilities. And you can say, it sounds like you're going to fail miserably. It was just so mean. Wow, thanks, jerk. Good for her. Stand up for yourself. Any interesting farm stories to tell me? Guess not. And then at 2 hearts, you do have something interesting to say. You're looking sharp today. You have soft hands. Yeah, I think that's all in the game as it is. Let's have a look at fall. Have you explored the mines much? The trees look beautiful today. It's spring right now in other parts of the world. She doesn't, yeah, this is just a pre-release thing. It's starting to get cold outside. I don't like it. If I were an animal, what would I be? A bison? A gerbil, a walrus, or a poodle. And then this is if you say you're a bison, she says, oh, I'm supposed to be a gerbil. If you say she's a gerbil, she says, that makes sense. Oh, and then the online survey says that she's a star-nosed mole. That's weird. Did you see the snowman I built? Oh, I don't know what to do today. Winter is a good time to work on my gadgets. Oh, she asks you properly, what do you think about my snowman? If you say, it looks great, she says, I put a lot of work into it. If you say, that lumpy mound in your yard is a snowman, she says, how can you be so rude? How could you be so rude? Hope I don't catch the flu. Have you built a furnace yet? You can use them to turn raw material, blah, blah, blah. I guess it's sleepy when it's cold. I can fix your machines. Do you have any ideas for a gadget? I think, yeah, a lot of this is in the game. Oh, and that's it. Okay, so Mary's pretty much the same. I think that what's interesting is like her first meeting dialogue, because her first meeting dialogue is quite generic. In this version, it was just like, hi, nice to meet you. But then in the actual game, it's really interesting. Yeah, she says about it can alter the community dynamic, things like that. Am I still screen recording? Have I not been screen recording this entire time? That's so fucking annoying. How is that possible? Oh, it's probably when I shut it. Oh well. Yeah, so I think that the version of Maru as she ended up had a bit more personality. And that just seems to be the case with all of them, really. That they just have a bit more personality. Yeah, because you don't want all of your love interests to be generic. Because then in the end, if it was like that, if they were all like just like quite similar, then you would end up choosing who you wanted to romance based on how they looked. You know, and like superficial things like that. But like Mary's got nuances to her personality, and they all do. They all do. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to talk about them so much. So, wait, we've done Alex, Abigail, Emily, Elliot, Haley, Mary. No, Harvey, Mary. So we've got 5 left. Who's after Mary? Leah.
But before we continue, let me tell you a quick word about today's sponsor. So this is the book. The full name is The Ultimate Guide to Rebuilding Civilization. But I like the book because it really is the book. At over 400 pages with 180 different topics, the book is an illustrated encyclopedia that covers human invention, everything from how to build a fire all the way down to psychotherapy and sushi. It's not only well-researched but absolutely beautiful, with hundreds of hand-drawn illustrations on thick, high-quality paper. I've really been enjoying my time with this book. It kind of makes me feel like a kid again when I realise just how much out there that I don't know. Like, since I read this, I know how to start a fire now, which is very cool. Very bad news from our enemies. It's also so clear just how much time and effort and care was put into making it. In 2025, where AI art is shoving itself into everything, it's really lovely to see the absolute painstaking effort that must have gone into this book. And yeah, it's really beautiful. There's also a hidden quest inside. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but just look for the butterflies, okay? Okay. Use the link in my description and code Fiona10 to get 10% off your purchase. It's an absolutely gorgeous book to have on your shelf, as well as a great talking point, gift, and valuable resource for if everything goes to shit. Thank you to Hungry Minds for sponsoring this video.
So I'm all the way down here today. It's because we're just chilling. It's because I'm so cozy. This is I get the like autism voice of like, this is like monotone, you know? So I'm trying to, but yeah, I'm just cozy. I'm just so comfortable with you, you know? All right, who are we looking at? I've forgotten. Leah. Okay, I do a lot of walking. It's good exercise and it gives you time to think. Oh, and it's nice to meet you. Bye. That's her intro dialogue? That's crazy intro dialogue. As opposed to, hello, it's nice to meet you. Picked a good time to move here. The spring is lovely. So she obviously still likes the outdoors and stuff. But like this version, it seems like she's got ADHD or something. She's like, oh, and it's nice to meet you. Strange. The trees look nice today, don't they? So why did you become a farmer? That is the same as it's in the game, I'm pretty sure. That's the same as it's in the game. I'm just going to start picking out the stuff that I think is different or interesting. Otherwise, I'm going to be here all day. Yeah, there's a pre-release line of, I accidentally stepped on a bug. I guess it's impossible not to cause some kind of destruction. I'll just have to be more careful next time. But then in the actual game, she says, this morning I accidentally stepped on a bug. Sometimes I think it's impossible to live without destroying nature in some way. So it seems like in the actual version, she's a lot more focused on nature. Because, you know, she says, oh, you moved here in the spring. The spring is lovely. Very Leah coded. Okay, yeah, so there's a pre-release line of, there's actually a lot of wild food in this area if you know where to look. I've been having fresh salads almost every day. And she does say that in the finished game. But also in the pre-release line, she adds, I wonder if plants get upset when we pull their leaves off. And there's so much of random stuff like that of like, I wonder if blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Did you notice that the word llama looks like a llama? Just like kind of like random quirky little thoughts. But then it does kind of like make all the characters seem similar when they're all like having these quirky little thoughts. Because it's very Emily coded to be like, I hope plants don't get mad when we take their leaves. But then if every character's saying stuff like that, then it makes Emily less Emily. So it's like I was saying, just trying to like give them their own personalities, I guess. You can spend your whole life just getting to know the people in this little town. It's simpler to be friends with the trees. They don't have much to say, as opposed to... It's simpler to be friends with the trees. They don't have much to say. So I wonder why she said that. You can spend your whole life just getting to know the people in this little town. I guess because the line as it is in the finished game of just the end bit, comes across as like, you know, she's had relationships. I'm really getting settled in here now. Comes across as she's had relationships in the past that have like let her down, which is true in terms of like Kel and stuff. But when she starts that sentiment talking about the people in the town, then she says it's better to be friends with the trees. It implies that she's kind of like insulting the people in the town, when I don't think that is what she's trying to do. So I guess that makes sense that part of it would be taken out. I kind of like it though. You could just spend your whole life getting to know the people in this little town. I like that. I wish that was still in there. But yeah, it's not very Leah. And then there's another kind of like random thought where she says, apples are crisp and cool like the spring. Sorry, that's just a thought I had. All right, I'll see you around. Yeah, like this is kind of, I'd say Emily and Sam are the two characters who in the end will just be like, here's the thing I was thinking about. See you around. But if everyone says that, then it kind of dilutes it. Okay, so, and then she has an event here called Event Parents. And part of it says, yeah, I guess you're right. I just wish they could understand how I feel. So I guess she used to have an event where maybe her parents disapproved of her being an artist or something, but that got taken out. And I think it makes sense that got taken out because there seems to be a lot of overlap. You know, there was an event with Alex being like talking about his parents that was taken out. I think there's one with Shane as well that got taken out of him being talking about his parents. There's too much parent stuff. Too much parents. I like that got changed because she's a grown woman. She's not thinking about her parents. Well, you know, just makes you seem younger, I guess, if you're talking about your parents all the time. All right, summertime for Leah. The air is full of sweet smells. How wonderful. I found some wild fruits this morning. Sound of farm animals. I have simple tastes. Just give me a babbling brook, a shady nook, and a cup of Stardew Valley aged red wine. That sounds nice. There's that line about the bug again. Oh, and then there's a lot of similar stuff. A workbench. There's a lot of repeated lines in this one. Yellow peppers are hot, like summer stones. Sorry, that thought just popped into my head. Enough with the random thoughts, Leah. What should I do on such a warm, lazy day? All right, not much in there. Let's look at fall. How quickly the seasons change. It's shocking. Does she say that? Seasons. Oh, she does say that. Okay. Found some wild mushrooms. Again, collage. Okay, this is a line that's not in the finished game. Hi, player. Do you want to talk? It's better to be yourself than to follow trends. Don't you think so? Who knows? Maybe you'll end up being a trendsetter yourself. I mean, that does sound like something that she would say. But, well, I mean, it sounds like something that she would think. But it's not really something she would say. I mean, she does do that thing of like, here's my opinion. She goes like, nature's amazing, you know, things like that. But I don't know, she wouldn't really be thinking about like trends and stuff. I just think that that's not the kind of thing that's on her mind. So I think it helps, yeah, define her personality if she doesn't if she stays focused on nature and nature-related things. And then on Saturday, she'll say, beets are red and earthy like autumn. Sorry, that thought just popped into my head. What is she talking about? Peppers are hot like summer stones. Beets are red. Chatting nonsense. She's pulling an Elliot. She's just chatting nonsense. All right, winter. Love the way everything looks when it's covered in fresh snow. So this is something she says in pre-release. I like to spend a day just working on my sculptures every now and then. Do you ever take a day off? And if we look in the finished dialogue, she'll just say like, do you ever take a day off? You should take a day off. She doesn't say that thing about the sculptures. So I wonder if in this version she had like a day job. Because she implies that it's a day off when she's working on her sculptures, but when we meet her, she is like a full-time artist, pretty much. So that wouldn't count as a day off, that's a day on. You know, it's like if I said, sometimes it's nice to take a day off and just like set up a camera and then film myself and then edit it into a YouTube video. It's like, no, that's my job. That's not a day off. So I guess, yeah, she probably had a different job at this point. She talks about art less. I've noticed that actually, because this is winter, so we've looked at all of Leah's stuff now. She doesn't talk about art as much. And then I guess that makes sense if in this event, she's saying like, I want to be an artist, but my parents think it's a bad idea. But as she is in the game, she's been out in the world, she used to live in the city, she's been in this relationship with Kel. She's a fully developed artist. She like has all these pieces that she's finished. So she's a lot further along in life. And that's another good way actually to differentiate the characters, isn't it? To have the older bachelors and the younger bachelors. And then there's no older bachelorettes, younger bachelorettes, but there's like an informal split, I guess, of like Emily and Leah are a bit older. Abigail, Maru, Haley seem younger. Who else is there? That was 5. Abigail, Maru, Haley, Leah, Emily. Penny. I always forget about Penny. Penny, I don't know. She seems young, but you could go either way. But yeah, it makes more sense to have them all at different stages in life. It helps differentiate them a lot more as well. So I think that makes sense. Interesting. Okay. I got some lying down. I'm getting sleepy. Alright, I'm getting too tired. I feel like I'm gonna just fall asleep right here. I'm gonna get a snack and I'll meet you back here in a little while.
What's up, gamers? It's been 2 days. Turns out I was kind of coming down with something. Either I have a cold, or my allergies are just really bad, or I'm being a little bitch, and it's none of those things. Or I have, the flu and I'm being so brave about it. It's one of those options. So we're back and we're going to jump right into it. So we finished Leah. So we did Maru, we did Penny. Wait, we did Leah, we did Maru. Did I do those out of order? Did I do Maru before Leah? That's not alphabetical. That's not how it works, Fiona. LMNOP. Irregardless, let's get into Penny. Oh, let me screen record. All right, so let's have a look at Penny. My deepest dive into Penny is still to this day my most watched video, I'm pretty sure. I don't really understand why. It is a good one. Maybe it's because it was a very clickbaity title of like, most controversial, I don't know. Okay, so this is Penny in spring. Let's get cozy, let's have a look. All right, so Monday in spring. Hi, do you want something? Let's have a look. Let's open up her text file as of 1.6 and we will compare. Okay, yeah, so that seems to be her introductory dialogue, or at least probably the first dialogue that you would see from her. And if we look at the game as it is now, you've got a very similar line just for Mondays, which is, hi, did you want something? And it comes across, when you just read it kind of raw like this, comes across as a bit rude, like, did you want something? But as we know of Penny is a people pleaser. When she asks, did you want something, she's genuinely asking you, did you want something? Like, she can't quite read the social cue and she wants to please you. And I think that comes across a lot better in the second version. Hi, did you want something? As opposed to, hi, do you want something? Like when she's saying it in the past tense, like, did you want something? She's saying like, have I done something wrong? As opposed to, do you want something? Right, it just comes across a lot better, I think, in that like past tense, in that second draft, in the final draft. So we've got a lot of stuff that ends up in the final game. Her talking about her mum going to the saloon, eager to move out. She likes your farm. Does she say that in the finished game, that she's always walking by your farm? No, she doesn't. So these are just pre-release lines where she says that she's walking by your farm. She says, I walk by your farm on most days. It's a really nice area. I always feel best when I'm outside, don't you? And then at 4 hearts, she says, your farm looks really pretty right now. I always admire it when I walk by. The spring flowers make me feel alive. They make her feel alive. So that's interesting because I don't think we get a lot from Penny as she is in the current game about liking to be outdoors. I don't really think that she says anything about that, does she? I don't think so. I mean, she has a picnic. She has a little picnic in her like 8 heart scene. But yeah, I don't know. So maybe that was taken out, that part of her characterization was taken out so she wasn't too similar to Leah. Talking about like, really liking the spring, because this was in spring. Talking about liking the spring flowers make me feel alive. Yeah, maybe that was taken out because it was just a bit too similar to Leah. Like you only want one character that's like the outdoors girly, And they're both ginger as well. So you kind of want to differentiate between them. So this is something as well. So I just searched in the finished dialogue for the word cook, and all it's got is the references to the heart event where she cooks for you. There's no other references to cooking, but in this pre-release file, there's a couple of different lines. So we got Wednesday 4 hearts. I really like to cook. I've even invented a few dishes of my own. You'll have to taste them sometime if you're the adventurous type. Wednesday 8 hearts. It must be hard cooking meals for yourself every day. Don't you wish you had someone to cook with? So that second one is, one of those things we were talking about where it's the character being like, and cook with me. That's her version of flirting. Yeah, I think it's interesting that these lines got taken out because cooking is still a part of her personality. There's that 4 heart scene, I believe, where she cooks. Is it the 4 heart scene? Or is that the 6 heart scene? One of them, where she cooks for you. It doesn't go well. I think it's the 6 heart scene. So it's still a part of her personality. So the reason that they got taken out must be different. It's not just like a character change. There must be like some kind of different reason. Off the top of my head, I would say it's probably just like to avoid the exposition of it, because this is a 4 heart line and it's her 6 heart scene where she cooks for you. Like, may as well just wait till 6 hearts till you see the 6 heart scene, and then you learn through organic means, I guess, that she likes cooking, that she makes her own recipes. Maybe she tells you during that scene, I can't quite remember. Maybe it would just be like her repeating herself. Maybe when that was written, the scene itself hadn't been written, and so there was like some repetition there. But yeah, it's just like a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Sophisticated. To just let that exposition just like expose itself, You see her cooking, you can get from that she likes cooking. She doesn't have to tell you, I really like cooking, So here's another line that got changed. So the original pre-release one is, have you been to the archaeological office? It's also a library. Reading can transport you to exciting new worlds, but then you realise how dull your real life is. Sorry, I got carried away. And then in the actual game, that line becomes, we're very lucky to have a library in such a small town. When you're lost in a book, it's easy to forget the realities of your life. Maybe that's why I like reading so much. Sorry, I got carried away there. So that's clearly, comes from that's the same line, just reworded.
So what's the difference there? Yeah, she says it's an archaeological office and a library. And then she just calls it a library, which makes sense for her because, yeah, it's another piece of like a bit clumsy exposition being like, did you know that archaeological office is also a library? Wow. There's no need for that. You can just walk into the building and see it for yourself. And then that's interesting as well. So she goes from saying, reading can transport you to exciting new worlds, but then you realize how dull your real life is, so this is the pre-release one. So that implies like that her problem or the reason that she reads is just to get some excitement into her life, right? Because she says her real life is dull. She wants to go to exciting new worlds. It's an escapism from, the dullness of life instead of what we see in the game as it is today. When you're lost in a book, it's easy to forget the realities of your life. Maybe that's why I like reading so much. So that relates to, like an escapism of, just literally escaping what her life is like with her terrible mother and being like quite unhappy in her situation. Yeah, using reading as like a coping mechanism almost. So yeah, we can see a change in characterization there where she went from, because this is kind of, I guess, like a bit of a stereotype. This gives like Belle from Beauty and the Beast type thing of like, my life is so dull. I'm but a bookish a bookish girl in this small town, and I dream of experiencing adventure. It's like a bit of a we've seen it before, but then this hits in such a different way. It's easy to forget. She wants to forget the realities of her life, which implies this like deep unhappiness because of the realities of her life. Like there's something materially, it's not that her life is dull, it's that there's too much stuff happening. There's stuff happening that she doesn't want to be happening. So that is an interesting edit there. It shows that she used to have a different characterization, I suppose. So yeah, a lot of this is similar or the same, at least in spring. I wonder what's different, because so this is her two-heart scene, the controversial two-heart scene, Stardew's biggest controversy, where she helps George with his post. So I wonder if we can see that it's different, because it was changed, and you'll know that if you've seen my Penny video. So it seems, she used to say, you saw, now she says, I wish he wasn't so upset. I was only trying to help. Yeah, I don't really know what we can make of that, because I know it was edited at some point, and the edits weren't great. The edits didn't really help. But yeah, similar. I don't know. All right, let's have a look at Penny. Too many gingers. Weirdly disproportionate amount of gingers. Penny. There she is. Okay, interesting. Right, so this is her in the summer, and there's this line she would have at 6 hearts. I wish I was talented and pretty like the other girls in town. And then you could respond, it's one side that counts. I prefer you the way you are. Or yeah, I wish that too. Wow, that's harsh. Yeah, that is not in the game as the game is today. I would remember that if it were. So if you said it's what's inside that counts, she would say, yeah, but still. If you said, I prefer you the way you are, she would say, ... If you said, yeah, I wish that too, she would just go, you do? And then, I'm still not sure what this is referenced to. But she says, some people don't even have food or shelter. We should be thankful. Or sorry that I'm not as cute as Haley. This is a very Penny thing to say, I think, of like, could be worse. Let's be grateful for what we have. I think she's got some lines during marriage of like, really trying hard to be grateful for what she has, which I guess is kind of a cope, but also I guess that's probably a good thing to do, of like being grateful for what you have. If you're in a bad situation like she is, if you would like to forget the realities of your life, then it's probably a good thing to be like, I appreciate the things I do have. But then there's no reason to be like, well, some people have it worse. Yeah, some people have it worse, Penny. Some people have it better. Yeah, it's kind of, I guess this was a way of like dismissing her concerns, any concerns she would have. There haven't been any lines so far about Pam, so I wonder if she was better in this version. Yeah, seeing as she didn't say she wants to escape the realities of her life. Hopefully the realities of her life were a bit better in this version. Oh wait, no, she says it's a burden to be worrying about Mum all the time. Yeah, this is in the old version. So Pam was still a bit problematic back then. Maybe not quite as bad, but not great. Not great. So yeah, this is probably kind of a cope to say, well, some people don't even have food. Like, yeah, but you could say that about anything. Someone could be starving and they could say, well, some people don't even have water. It's like, yeah, but you need some food, babes. So let's talk more about this line. I wish I was talented and pretty like the other girls in town. So yeah, like I was saying, this kind of leans into that characterization that she seemingly used to have of like, oh, I'm just so plain and bookish and I wish to escape my life. And it comes across as quite, this is pathetic. Is what I'm thinking. It's kind of pathetic. It's also very like immature kind of state of mind. Like I don't get me wrong. I've been like that at many times in my life of like, oh, I wish I was more like this person. I'm the ugliest person in the world, but it's not very charming. It's not a very endearing thing to say. Also, yeah, would make her come across as more immature. Like, yeah, if she's a romantic option, you don't really, her just out of the blue saying this kind of thing to you. If it was part of a heart event, I think that would make a lot more sense. But I think it makes sense that it got taken out because it is a bit exposition-y, doesn't really paint her in the best light. Also, I don't think Penny's the kind of person to just like out on this, you could be in the middle of the street and she just goes, here's my personal vulnerability. Here's one of my deepest fears. I don't think she's the type to just say that. She would probably couch it with something. Yeah, so this is weird because there's like this line that we read previously, but it's like slightly different in this version. I don't know why that is. Probably just because this didn't end up being the final version, so it didn't get that like final polish of, oh, this is a repeated line, It's just still in there because it was a draft. Oh, it's talking about pirates again. That's like our fourth pirate reference. Okay, so she says, if you dig in the dirt, you can, typo, find some interesting things. One time I found a rusty old anchor at the beach. Maybe it belonged to a pirate once. So many pirate references, but I'm pretty sure all of the pirate references got taken out. Because pirates weren't in the game until Ginger Island, which was 1.5. So maybe he was thinking like, oh, I can't reference pirates all the time because people think pirates will be in the game. And then he added pirates later. I don't know. I'm not going to try and, this isn't the purpose of this. I'm not trying to reverse engineer the thought process. We're trying to interpret. Also, we're just being nosy. I love to be judgmental about people's early works. So she says at 6 hearts, would you like someone to decorate your house for you? I think it would be fun to come up with designs. And I'm 99% sure she doesn't say that. Yeah, she asks you in the finished game, she has this same line about asking you, do you like to decorate your farmhouse? But she doesn't say, would you like someone to decorate your house for you? And I suppose, yeah, her saying that to you kind of suggests that she's going to come decorate your house for you. With this kind of game, I think you have to kind of toe this line of, you don't want to be too suggestive about like things that will happen, right? So when you're talking to Sam in the game, he'll say like, do you want to hang out? And then that's the end of the conversation. And then you'll just like leave. Right. And I'd say that's the closest that it gets to kind of hinting that something is going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm playing on my like Patreon and on my YouTube membership, I've been uploading videos of me playing the Yandere Shane mod, where Shane is a Yandere. If you don't know what that is, it just means he's like obsessed with you to the point of mental illness, like I am with him. That I am a Yandere for Shane. Like, let's be real. He had this one line, Yandere Shane, where he was like, I know everything about you. I know everything about him. I'm the Yandere. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me. So there was this one point where Yandere Shane in this mod said like, oh, it's my birthday. Do you want to hang out tonight? We can hang out by the lake. And me playing it was like, yes, I do want to do that. And I didn't know if there were going to be like new heart events or anything. So I got really excited. I thought we had a date. So how do I do that with him? How do I make sure that I'm there? Was that a real invite? Did that actually happen in the context of the mod? That I can go hang out with him on his birthday? Or is that... I don't know. Fuck. What the hell? I got really excited. I feel like I've been stood up. It turns out it was just one of those lines where they just like say something and then it doesn't happen. So what I'm saying is with the game like this, where, there's not a lot of events, there's not a huge amount of content. Because if you were playing like, I don't know, Baldur's Gate or something, and a character was like, do you want to do this? You would just assume that you were going to get to do that. So her saying, do you want me to decorate your house for you? I guess, probably got taken out just because like that's not going to happen. And you might get your hopes up. Like I did with Shane. I was so excited because he said like, do you want to hang out by the lake tonight? And so I kept going to the lake and like going in and out of the map to like refresh it in case a heart event started. And then I was like, oh no, what if it's the other lake, the one up in the mountains? I went up to the mountains just to check, it was not my proudest moment. It was not my finest moment. Okay, so that's about all we can get from Summer Penny. Summer Penny, she's such a loser. All right, we've got another line here that was edited. So this is Fall. At 4 hearts, she says, I don't exactly love being the only girl in town who lives in a trailer. I wish I could live in a nice house someday. And then in the finished game, she says, also in Fall, also at 4 hearts on a Monday, it's kind of embarrassing to be the only family in town who lives in a trailer. I wish I could live in a nice house someday. So it's gone from, I don't exactly love being the only girl in town who lives in a trailer to it's kind of embarrassing to be the only family in town. I think that makes sense that would be changed because I don't exactly love, it's like a very specific way of speaking. That's kind of the way that I talk because I don't exactly love this, It's not kind of the
speech cadence that Penny has. Because it's like kind of couching it, right? It's a way of being like, I don't like this, but I don't want to complain too much about it. So she's saying, I don't exactly love it, instead of being like, I hate it. And then we still have that in the finished version where she says it's kind of embarrassing. She doesn't just say it's embarrassing. She's like, it's kind of embarrassing. In that she doesn't want to express too strong of an emotion. But it's a more specific emotion because she says embarrassing. So we know that it's not like a status thing or anything. She's not like, I wish I had more like things to show off. I wish I had a nice house so that I could be like, yeah, look at me, you guys. Yeah, it's an embarrassment. She feels like shame about it. And she says the only girl in town. So I guess this implies, yeah, that it could hypothetically be kind of like a status thing of like, I think it makes me look bad. I wish that, you know, just like more materialistic, I guess. I don't know. But I like the finished version better. I think it reveals more about her character. Okay, so she's got another line about digging in the dirt and finding things. So she had one of these in spring as well. And then there was the one we read in the summer where she found the pirate thing. And then this one in fall. It's the same every time, but she just seems to find different things, as opposed to the finished game where she only says that she found a piece of pottery. But in this previous version, the thing that she finds changes every season. So at this point, she found some old glass on the beach and she made a necklace out of it. And maybe that was too similar to Hayley and her little... There's a whole thing about a necklace, and that scene's also on the beach, so that could have been a bit confusing. I don't know. I mean, maybe Penny's she's into cooking and she's into like quilting and stuff, right? She's into those like trad wife crafts. Making a necklace out of pieces of things is like a whole different skill. So maybe that was taken out just because it's a bit like, yeah, because it's complicated. Sounds hard. And then everything else here, I think, yeah, is in the finished game. Alrighty, Winter Penny. What will we find? What will she find in the dirt this season, I wonder? Ooh. Look at this. Okay. So in the finished game, Penny has a line. Are you friends with Linus? He lives in a tent up in the mountains. Everyone ignores him, the poor guy. He's actually really nice, just a little odd. It must be so cold to live in a tent this time of year. So that's her line in the game. Finished. Her line in winter, in pre-release, says this. Have you met Linus? He lives in a tent up in the mountains. Everyone looks down on him, but I think he's nice. Although I have this feeling that he's hiding something. What? What's he hiding? What the hell? That's so interesting. I don't know. See, I don't know if that says something about Penny. If that's supposed to say, you know, at this point in time, she was like more suspicious of strangers or something, or whether at this point in development, Linus had something to hide. Let's take a brief tangent. Let's go look at Linus, just out of curiosity. Okay, all of Linus's lines look the same. As far as I can remember, because I made a video about him as well. It doesn't seem like he has anything to hide. So it could be left over, there's a couple options here. It could be left over from a previous version of Linus because he's got in the game files, there's some unused art of Linus. I'll put it like on the screen or something, of him in like a suit looking younger, and then also him looking younger without his beard in the outfit he has now, which implies a previous heart event or something like that, where it showed his like origin story of like, he used to work this job in this suit. And then he moved to live in the forest and he put this outfit on and now he looks like he does now, you know, like the progression of his storyline. His origin story. And that wasn't ever used. That doesn't end up in the game. So it could be that Penny saying, I think he's hiding something, was a reference to that. Like he's hiding, because a lot of people theorize that like Linus was the inventor of Joja, or the founder, I guess, because he happened to be like in a suit in these unused sprites. So she could be referencing that as him hiding something, or it could just be a different characterization of Penny where she's just more suspicious, right? She says she has this feeling that he's hiding something. That doesn't necessarily mean that he was hiding something. It could just be that her characterization at this point looked at this homeless man and thought, I'm suspicious of him, right? So it's one of those two things. I mean, it could be other things, I don't know, but that's interesting. Yeah, because she doesn't say she's suspicious of him. She says he's a little odd, and then she like sympathizes with him. So in the game as it is now, it seems like it's a lot more emphasis on her like kindness. She's a very kind person to a fault almost, as we see in her heart events. And that's a very different characterization of her for her to say, I have this feeling that he's hiding something. Even if he were hiding something, it just shows like a suspicion and like almost like a bit of a hostility, and it makes her come across different, makes her come across less empathetic, less kind. Interesting. Thrilling. And then this is another line that's not in the finished game. On a Tuesday at no hearts, she will just say, hello, do you want to be friends? Oh, bless her. That's interesting that that's in winter specifically, because we haven't seen that in any of the other ones. It's, yeah, because it just says Tuesday. It doesn't say Tuesday and then a heart level. So it's Tuesday when you have fewer than 2 hearts with her. And it's winter. So that would mean that you as a player had gone through spring, summer, autumn, not really talking to her, because otherwise you'd be above 2 hearts. Or like maybe, you know, here and there. So after a whole year of you living there, she just comes out and says, do you want to be friends? Because you're not really friends with her. Oh, I feel bad for her. It's quite forward though, isn't it? I don't think, Penny, as we know her today, would just come right out and say that. I think I said that about one of her previous lines. Like she is very self-conscious about the way that she speaks. You know, she says stuff like, sorry, I got carried away there. I don't know why I said that. Things like that. She tries to kind of keep a tight lid on everything. She doesn't always succeed, but she tries. So her coming out and just saying, hello, do you want to be friends? I don't think that fits with her character. I think it makes sense that got taken out. I feel bad for her though. She wants to be my friend. Okay, so here's what she finds in the dirt in winter. She says, one time I found what looked like an ancient seed. I wonder if it would still grow. And that is in the game, because you can find in the dirt an ancient seed. And then you use that to make ancient seeds and it says, could these still grow? And that's very similar to what she says here of ancient seed. I wonder if it would still grow. So that probably just got taken out because of the repetition of that. Yeah, it seems like there was a lot in all of these kind of pre-release versions. Overall, I'm getting the sense that there used to be more exposition, right? Of like, did you know that the archaeology office is also the museum? And then there was some more last time, but I can't remember. But yeah, it makes sense that those would get taken out through development. I guess when there's like play testing and also just like a certain like confidence, like because exposition in that kind of way of being like, did you know this? Implies a certain amount of like self-consciousness about your game, of like, I guess worry, like anxiety that the player's not just gonna like discover it themselves, over explaining things. So it makes sense that those would get taken out like through development as, yeah, like there was playtesting or like just the confidence in the game design itself like grew. And then everything else here is stuff we've seen before and stuff that is still in the game. So that is Penny. Yeah, that was Penny. Interesting. Yeah, we can see there's a lot of little nuances in her characterization that used to be different. Even just small things. Yeah, like I don't exactly love being the only girl in town who lives in a trailer, as opposed to it's kind of embarrassing to be the only family in town who lives in a trailer. Like just little rearrangements like that on the surface don't really look like that much. But when you think about Stardew Valley as a game, when the characters don't have a lot of dialogue, right? If we think about it in terms of like, you know, comparing it to other games, comparing it to like a book, comparing it to most things, that's not a lot of dialogue, right? Especially in the early versions before a bunch got added. So the language kind of has to be very precise, because if you only get like 3 lines of dialogue from a character, that's everything that you know about them. You're going to kind of extrapolate your interpretation of them from just, you know, a few words. So it makes sense that as it went through the drafts, it got kind of more specific. You know, the wording was more precise so that the characterization is more precise. You know. All right, well, that was interesting. So we've done Penny, so now it's Sam. Oh, Sam is so good. Sam's ones are so good. There were so many ones, because I read some of Sam's lines in the Shiny video part 2. I picked out my favorite ones, but there's so many good ones. He has a bunch of random stuff that he says. Okay. So this is Sam in the spring. So his first meeting dialogue used to be, hey, what's up? I was hoping I'd run into you. You're the new farmer who just moved in, right? I'm Sam, good to meet you. As opposed to now where he just says, hey, I'm Sam, good to meet you. So it got chopped down. I kind of like the previous version more, because he is a very kind of verbose guy. I think, hey, I'm Sam, good to meet you is just a bit, I think what I said in his video was like straight to the point, friendly, you know, but I think he'd be excited. Yeah, I think and when he gets excited, he tends to like talk more, as many ADHD people do, me included. Yeah, I kind of like that more. Sue me. So we will learn about Sam through this pre-release dialogue that he used to be obsessed with aliens. So here is the first example of that. On the 7th of spring, he would say, I just finished reading a book about extraterrestrial life. Extraterrestrial life. It's a fun subject. I wonder if they have electric guitars on any other planets. The 14th, I would love to learn about an alien planet. Just think about the culture, music, food, cinema. Sigh. I was born in the wrong century. Player. People usually say, oh, I was born in the wrong decade for like, oh, I wish I was alive in the 60s and the 70s for like the music and stuff. But he's saying he wishes he was born in the future so that he could live with aliens. And I love that. And then we've got this line, which is in the finished game about his allergies. And then this line about him practicing the guitar. He says he's been practicing all night, his fingers hurt like crazy. It's okay, it means he'll be able to practice longer next time. Bye, I've got something to do. In the finished game, he says something very similar. It's just kind of cut down a little bit. Takes out the bit about, oh, it means next time I can practice for longer, which makes sense. You just kind of be more precise with the language, like I was saying. And then, yeah, there's this one. Your tool is the hoe and mine is the guitar. They both require a skilled touch, am I right? Chee-hee-hee. 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 I'm just trying to imagine, like, what it would actually sound like what sound that's supposed to be. Chee-hee-hee. Is it like a... Is it like a... You know, like how Shane says bah, and a lot of people think it's just him going like... Pff. Maybe it's like... It's not supposed to be like... Chee-hee-hee. It's like... We'll never know. I guess we'll never. Okay. Okay, so here's another line. He says, do-da-do, do-da-dop-da-do. Oh, hi. I'm in the process of coming up with a new song for my band. What do you think this song should be about? You can say farming, mining, and chopping wood. Dinosaur people. A romantic picnic at the beach. Choose anything, it will still be a horrible song. If you say the last one, he says, sorry, I asked. If you say anything else, he says, that sounds perfect. So you say dinosaur people, he's just like... Yeah, all of his lines about his dad are pretty much the same still, which is interesting. So that was obviously a concept that he had very early on, talking about his dad being back. Yeah, that's pretty much the same. That's pretty much the same. Okay, and then everything else is pretty much the same or like slightly different until we get to, I really wish we could see a flying saucer someday. Both of us. It would be easier if we lived somewhere with clearer skies. I think the future is going to be full of great surprises. That's cute. Both of us. And this is at 8 hearts, so like he wants you to be there with him. That's so cute. I wonder if this part of it got taken out because it's similar to Maru, how you like stargaze with Maru and then her fucking robot flies off into the sky and shit, you know? Or maybe just because it's all really random. I don't think he says a single thing about aliens in the finished game. Does he? Let me search for alien. No. 0. Nothing about aliens in the finished version. That's a shame. But there's a shitload of alien content in this one. Here's another one. So, are you interested in flying saucers at all? My dad saw one once, although he seemed to think it was a secret weapon of the Gotoro Empire. So, in this version, Kent saw a UFO. That's so funny. That's really funny. Oh, you know what? Okay, big brain moment. Let's interpret, let's analyze this UFO obsession that Sam has. So he says that his dad saw one once, although his dad thinks it's a secret weapon of the Gotoro Empire. So the Gotoro Empire, or Gotoro, I can't remember, is the people that his dad is fighting, right? His dad is Kent, Kent is off at war, Kent is fighting the Gotoro Empire. So his dad said to him, like, at some point, oh, I saw a thing in the sky. I think it was a secret weapon of our enemies overseas. And Sam interpreted that as instead it's a UFO. So I guess maybe it's like he wants to live in this like childish interpretation of the world where, oh, it's not like an enemy combatant. It's not like a drone from our enemies. It's a UFO because that's a nicer thing to think. That it's less danger, it's a bit more whimsical. It's less scary, basically. And maybe the existence of aliens makes him feel better about his dad being at war and stuff. Like, yeah, kind of like with Penny, maybe it's like a form of escapism for this version of Sam of thinking like about aliens and stuff. So he doesn't have to think about the realities of war. I don't know. Maybe. So that was just spring. There is more alien content, I will tell you that. So, Sam in the summer. I wonder if any alien civilizations have built balloon cities on gaseous planets. Sorry, I get carried away sometimes. Sometimes. It's all the time, Sam. If I had a kite, I would be flying it today, but I don't have a kite. Whatever. So here's a line that was kind of cut down. So this is the pre-release version. You can see it's quite long. Then the version of it in the actual game is just the first sentence. So in the actual game, he says, Dad was telling me about our national enemy, the Gotoro Empire. They sound like a ruthless bunch. And then in this pre-release version, he says the same thing. But then he also says, have you heard about the super elite agents the Gotoro Empire trains? Some of them even work as undercover spies in our land. You aren't a Gotoro spy, are you? So in this pre-release version, he was asking you if you were like a sleeper agent. I think it makes sense that got taken out. That's quite serious of an accusation. He's obviously got a very active imagination in this version because, yeah, the ability to think that UFOs exist and that aliens are real, and also think that this farmer that just moved into your small rural town has the possibility of being a super elite undercover spy. You gotta have, quite an active imagination to believe both of those things at the same time. I think Sam would be a conspiracy theory guy. In this version, at least. I think he would, be a flat
earth truther. Probably reads 4chan in this version. And then this line is similar to one we had in the spring, where he says, I really wish we could see a flying saucer someday. It would be fun to fly up in a hot air balloon and go inside a cloud. I think the future is going to be full of great surprises. So how is that related? So he says, I wish we could see a flying saucer someday. It would be fun to fly up in a hot air balloon and go inside a cloud. That is something you can do. You can go in a hot air balloon, you can go inside a cloud. You can do that right now. Sam. Okay, so it kind of links to what he says next of, so I'm also interested in hot air balloons. I like how simple they are. So it seems like he's just interested in flying objects as a whole. So he likes a hot air balloon because it's simple, but then he also likes a flying saucer. And the thing that they have in common is the flying element. So he says, I wish we could see a flying saucer. I think it'd be fun to go up in a hot air balloon. So I guess the link in his mind is just like aerial objects. And that is kind of an ADHD thing of like, these two things are tangentially related. Let me jump from one topic to another. I do that all the time. Sam. So he says, on the 21st of fall, hi player, for some reason I was thinking about bonsai trees when you showed up. I have no idea what that could mean. 28th, hi player, today I saw a cloud shaped like a duck. I really like that line. Today I saw a cloud shaped like a duck. I wish he said that still, because that's quite sweet. It seems accurate to his character as he ends up just like something random, something kind of like charmingly hopeful and childish, you know, not childish in a bad way, childish in like a seeing the world with like wonder. Because when you're a kid, you do that thing where you lay down, you look at the clouds, and you're like, this one looks like this. But you don't do that when you're an adult. But he keeps that kind of childlike wonder of the world about UFOs and shit as well in this version. So I like that. Here's another line that didn't make the cut. I like when the wind blows in fall, all the leaves flutter around like a flock of sun parrots. And then he just goes ... Blah. I hate shopping for new clothes. My shoes have big holes in them though. Oh, okay, look at this. Saturday 4 hearts. I'm lucky to have the biggest room in the house to myself. I guess there's advantages to not having siblings. So Vincent doesn't exist, because in the finished game he has his little brother, Vincent. It's interesting as well, because in this version of the game, Jazz doesn't exist. So Vincent and Jazz, if we look at this big list of the pre-release dialogue, Vincent and Jazz don't exist. They don't have files. Yeah, that's interesting. Because I said in like my first ever video, I think I said like, there are these 2 kids in town, they don't really do anything. They don't like give you quests, you can't really do anything with them. They just exist to like make the world feel more rich, right? Because if you have any town anywhere, there's going to be kids. People are having kids all the time. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. So maybe he just didn't really think about that. And then one day was like playing it or something and was like, oh, there's no kids here. Or maybe someone else was like, why aren't there any kids? Every town has kids. And he was like, you're right. And then put some kids in. I don't know. That's just interesting though that both of the little kids don't exist at this point in time. Sunday. Hi player. I wonder if a gecko makes a good pet. I don't know. Does it? Probably. People have geckos as pets, I think. Don't they? I think so. All right, let's look at Sam in winter. Okay, so Thursday at 6 hearts, he says, hey, do you think you have a shot at winning the Stardew Hero competition? It's happening soon. I'll be rooting for you. So that's something we saw when we looked quickly at the file of the rival, talking about the Stardew Hero competition. So this just must be like a festival or something that existed at some point in time. Or maybe it was just in concept and then it got taken out before it was even like, you know, really thought through. We'll never know. And then everything else is kind of stuff that we've seen before. Yeah, either we've looked at or I think he says in the final game. Okay, well, that's the end of Sam. Yeah, I'm so obsessed with aliens, hot air balloons, clouds shaped like ducks. Bless him. That's another theme that we keep seeing cropping up of like making some of the characters less like childish. Maybe they weren't intended to be romanceable at first, or maybe it was kind of like to be taken more seriously as like romantic options to make them come across as like 20 instead of like 15. Or maybe it's not to do with, you know, childishness at all. Maybe it was just, I don't know. Because there are aliens in Stardew Valley, aren't there? Is that like alien pod thing that shows up on your farm one day? But I don't know what happens with that. That's like one of my blind spots. Like, I don't know what does that do? No one tell me, because that's one of the few things that I actually don't know, and I want to find it out myself one day. But I've never like run into an alien or anything in the game. So, but like, you know, just the fact that an alien pod appears means that aliens do exist. But then like the dwarves are kind of aliens, aren't they? Like in the mines and stuff, the dwarves have like carvings of like UFOs and stuff, I swear. So like aliens do exist, so like he's kind of right. So maybe that's why it got taken out, is because if he's kind of right, then it kind of doesn't come across in the same way of like, this guy's like very whimsical. I don't know. I liked it though. I wish that he's still, you know, because Sam as a presence, it's like, oh, what fun thing is he going to say to me today? He's going to tell me about his shoes. He's going to tell me about whatever spider crawls into my mouth. He's going to come up with something random. So I think it would have been fun to keep all of this stuff in, because then that's just more crazy stuff he can come out with. Love him. All right, let's do Sebastian. We're now at spring for Sebastian. I'll do my Sebastian voice. So his intro dialogue as it exists in the finished game is, "Oh, you just moved in, right? Cool. Out of all the places you could live, you chose Pelican Town?" But his pre-release intro dialogue was, "Oh, hey, I'm Sebastian." So yeah, a lot more generic, doesn't really tell us anything about him, as opposed to the intro dialogue that exists now. Tells us instantly his entire vibe of being like, "I'm too good for this town. I want to get out of here with all these posers," you know, as opposed to, yeah, previously being quite generic. So he says, at Four Hearts, "The computer is an amazing invention, isn't it? Technology is advancing so fast." Which, what does that really tell us about, like, that's not a very good line, is it? It makes sense that got taken out. The computer is an amazing invention. Great. Correct. I mean, it might have got taken out as well. I think I was mentioning previously, like, the time period that Stardew Valley's in is quite ambiguous. He has 2 computers, but, like, no one else really has a computer. So technology obviously isn't advancing very fast. So that probably got taken out because, to keep the ambiguity over that kind of thing. So he talks about Maru here. He says, "Everyone likes my sister, Maru. They're always talking about how smart and friendly she is. Sorry." As opposed to the finished game where he says, "Why does everyone like Maru so much? Sure, she's smart and friendly, but don't they realise it's all just an attention-grabbing scam? Sorry." So this pre-release version is a lot more subtextual, I suppose. Like, based on the way he says it. The only thing that indicates here that he's saying it in, like, a bitter kind of way is the fact that he says sorry afterwards. Like, he could be saying this in a nice way, hypothetically. Something sharp on here. What is this? Why was this in my pillow? That's weird. Anyway, hypothetically, he could be saying this in a nice way. He's saying, like, "Everyone likes my sister Mary. They're always talking about how smart and friendly she is." But then he says sorry at the end, so it's obviously him being like, "Everyone likes my sister Mary. He's talking about how smart and friendly she is." I hate how smart and friendly she is. But then in the finished version, it's a lot more clear that he's saying this in, like, a bitter kind of way, because he says, "Why does everyone like Mary so much? It's an attention-grabbing scam," right? So I guess it's just, like, clearer the intention of it. And it says more about what he thinks about her, that he thinks that she's, like, performing being smart and friendly for attention and to take attention away from him, as opposed to the pre-release line where everything we could interpret from this would be, I guess, based off of tone, like whatever expression went with this, but we don't know. So I guess, yeah, the finished one is just a lot clearer in what his meaning is. What a dickhead. What a little dickhead. So at 2 Hearts in spring, old Sebastian will say, "I started playing this online role-playing game. I've been clicking on this stump for hours trying to get my forestry level up. Ugh, I should just write a computer program to do it for me. Sigh. What's the point?" To me, this sounds like he's playing RuneScape. I think probably it also could apply to, like, World of Warcraft. I haven't ever played World of Warcraft. I've played old school RuneScape, just clicking on the same thing for hours, trying to get various levels up. And if he wrote a computer program to do it for him, that would be cheating. And he would be banned, in theory. But I think this line got taken out. So we've got this pre-release line at 4 Hearts. "Yeah, I go to the beach now and then. Pretty much only when it's raining. When I look off into the dark horizon, I feel less alone. I wish I could travel across the sea." And then we've also got this line in the finished version, but it's changed. So it says, "I usually stay inside, but I do go to the beach now and then. Pretty much only when it's raining, though. For some reason, staring off into the bleak horizon makes me feel, I don't know, like it's worthwhile to keep pushing on, I guess." So that's changed quite a lot. He feels less alone. He wished he could travel across the sea. But then in the finished version, yeah, it's a lot more, I don't know, poetic. Yeah, because I think with Sebastian, in his video, I talked about how you get this feeling sometimes, right? When you're kind of like a young person. I mean, I even get it now sometimes of, like, when it rains or when you're watching, like, the sunset or something and you're just like makes you sad. Kind of in a good way. Sometimes, I don't know, but it's like an ineffable quality to it of, like, you just can't quite put it into words. It's just like this, it's very evocative type thing. And so Sebastian, yeah, he says, "Makes me feel, I don't know." And then he kind of takes a guess and he's like, well, yeah, he literally says it's a guess. He says, "I guess." As opposed to the pre-release version where he says, "When I do this, I feel this." And then he says, you know, he wishes he could travel across the sea. Yeah, so it's another case, yeah, of, like, the exposition just being a bit more subtle. And then, yeah, as well, I think it's interesting how there's that uncertainty that comes out in the finished version of, like, he doesn't quite know what it makes him feel.
he just guesses. He says he doesn't know. And I think it's more focused on his like depression because it says worthwhile to keep pushing on, as opposed to the pre-release version where he says it makes him feel less alone. I don't know why looking at horizon would make you feel less alone. Maybe hypothetically they could see land because he says, I wish I could travel across the sea. So maybe he's looking at some land. I don't know. So he feels less alone knowing that there's people out there like outside of this small town. But yeah, the version as it is, as we end up with, he says it's worthwhile to keep pushing on. Yeah, which implies this kind of like listlessness that he struggles to find reasons to keep going, you know, kind of depression and kind of apathy, as opposed to like a focus on loneliness, which paints a broader emotional landscape for Sebastian. So yeah, I think that one's better. So I said this in his video as well. So there's some dialogue here about heart events. So Sebastian's 6 heart event, you play, what is it? Solarian Chronicles, which is kind of like Dungeons and Dragons tabletop vibe. And I said it would be nice if during the scene itself of you playing, there were like interjections from Sam and Sebastian, like talking about the choices you've made. And we can see here that that used to be the case because these things where it says event cave aren't in the finished game. So what I would assume, this could be wrong, but what I would assume would be that, you know, maybe in the D&D game, you used to go into a cave and then this was like dialogue that he would interject with. I don't know. Looking at it now, yeah, we can't be sure that that's what it was. It could have just been that there was an entire other event where you like physically actually went into a cave or something, but I don't know. All right, Sebastian in the summer, let's have a look. So on a Friday, Sebastian in the summer would say, oh hey, I was just listening to some music. Yawn. Guess what kind of music I was listening to? And you could answer smooth jazz, metal, synthcore, or boogie woogie. Boogie woogie. Okay, so the only good answer is synthcore or metal. And he will reply, how do you know? And if you reply smooth jazz or boogie woogie, he says, LOL. LOL. Maybe if I was born 100 years ago. And then he also says, oh, you've probably never heard of this band. He's such a meanie. Such a hipster. You've probably never heard of this band that he's listening to. I love that he says LOL. I feel like, I say it out loud. Sometimes I say like lol, but I don't say LOL. So awkward to say. I've tried to stop saying it because my husband pointed out that sometimes I wouldn't laugh to something that he said. I would just go like lol. And then I'm trying to train myself out of it because it's like, that's not how I want to present myself. I want to laugh at things. I don't want to just be like lol. So on Saturday he would say, I've been playing this computer game all day. I just need to find 12 more diamond ores. Then I'm done. My eyes hurt. So there was a lot more references to him playing games and stuff, like the thing that he said about getting his forestry skill up in like RuneScape or whatever. This one hints to me at Minecraft. I haven't played a ton of RuneScape. I haven't played Minecraft, but just like culturally, mine diamonds, you know, that famous bop. That makes me think of Minecraft. So I guess, yeah, these lines maybe got taken out just because it was a bit like trying to take out some cultural references, maybe just in case they like aged badly or something. He's a gamer though. He's a big gamer. So he says at 4 Hearts, last night I saw a group of bats flying around near the lake. It was really cool. As opposed to the finish line where he says, last night I saw a group of bats flying around near the lake. I guess maybe they are feeding on the mosquitoes this time of year. So previously he just went, it was really cool. But now he, you know, has thoughts about it, which yeah, I guess it tells us more about his character. Again, it's just kind of better written dialogue, says more, does more. Let's look at Sebastian in fall. Monday. Hey, so do you like milk cows and stuff? Yeah. It's like the bit with the like number one thing of being a farmer. It's like milking a cow. I like this one. Okay. Hi. People are like leaves. Eventually we're going to fall in the dirt. So this hints to me at the line where it's like, people are like stones across the ocean. Eventually we're going to sink. But it's just like worse. People are like leaves. Eventually we're going to fall in the dirt. It's like trying to be poetic and profound. But it doesn't quite get there in the way that other one does. So Tuesday at 6 Hearts, he would say, the more I learn about computers, the more powerful I'll become. I want to use my powers for good, of course. I like that line. This version of Sebastian is more interesting. He doesn't really talk about computers in the finished version. I just looked up the word computer in his dialogue and all he says something at Ginger Island about how it's good to get away from the computer. But like for a guy who is a software engineer and spends all of his time in his little basement room at his computer, he doesn't really talk about the computer that much. So I like in the previous version how he was clearly gaming a lot and he would talk about computers. He had hobbies, you know? He had some stuff going on. I like it. And then he asks about books. I think that is in the finished game. Cool. All right. That was Sebastian in the fall. Let's look at Sebastian in the winter. Okay. So Tuesday, 6 Hearts, he says, I've been working on this video game. It has a guy in it who is making a video game about a guy who starts to realize he is a character in a video game. Think about it. So I really like this line. I think it's funny. So this obviously was written by a person who was making a video game, who wrote this guy who is in a video game. So it's like Stardew Valley is a video game that has a guy in it who is working on a video game, who has a guy in it who So Stardew Valley as a game was made by a guy. There's a guy in Stardew Valley who's, in this case, making a video game about a guy who's making a video game about a guy who starts to realize he is a character in a video game. So that's like 4 levels of Inception at that point, right? It's very meta. Maybe it got taken out because it comes across as like a bit self-indulgent. It's like, whoa, this is a guy in a video game. Crazy. It's like how in Community, like Abed's always like, what if we were people in a TV show? And they're like, shut up, Abed. But he's right, you know. But I like that kind of thing. I like things to be a bit meta. I don't think it's too fourth wall breaking. I think it could work. But then Sebastian, he does start making a video game, but he only starts making a video game, I think, when you marry him. So I guess that got taken out for like a purpose of his character development. Because he doesn't start working on it until he lives with you and he doesn't have to do his programming job anymore. But I think that's funny. I like it. So there's another line that doesn't seem to be in the finished game where he says, do you want to play a board game or something? I guess you probably have work to do. And that could be another case that it was taken out because it like hints that you're going to get to do that. Or maybe it's just a bit early for him to be friendly with you. I don't know. I think that's kind of cute though. He wants to play a board game with you. I guess a lot of the stuff that got taken out kind of cements him more in like culture. You can kind of imagine the kind of guy he is if you're thinking that he's playing RuneScape, he's playing Minecraft, he likes board games, he's making a game, you know. We probably all know people like that. It makes me think of my husband, you know. Every single time we have people around, my husband's like, do you want to play Carcassonne? And everyone's like, no. So yeah, maybe that got taken out just to prevent the player from like stereotyping him, but I like it. I think it's nice colour to him. So on Saturday he will say, my computer is the only connection I have with the outside world. Otherwise I'd be alone with a bunch of farmers and old people. No offence. And I think that's really funny. I like that line. Why did you take that out, Eric? Yeah, he's talking about his computer. He's on his computer all the time. Why does he never talk about it? I think it makes sense that he would talk about it. Because if he's a software engineer, if he's spending all this time on the computer, he would talk to people on there. He'd have Discord. He is a classic. He would be a Discord moderator for like Solarian Chronicles server or something, you know? I think that line's funny. I like it. And then at 6 Hearts, he would say, do you have any llamas on your farm? Have you ever noticed that the word llama kind of looks like a llama? Does it, Sebastian? Let's Google llamas. Oh my God, what the fuck? The first thing that comes up when you Google llama is not a llama, it's a fucking AI thing that's called llama, and I hate that. So there's a llama. So I guess what he means, right, is that it has, if we look at the word llama, okay, it has this bit's taller and then this bit's shorter, right? We look at llama, this bit's taller, this bit's shorter. I guess, but then it's like, that's only if it's lying down, because that doesn't look like the word llama, does it? And it's if the llama's looking this way. And also it has the legs, so you would think that there'd be like a Q in there or something. I don't know. Now I'm just shitting on this very innocent little joke. It's cute. It's kind of funny, I guess. I don't know. It's that brand of humour that mostly got taken out from this early version of like lol XD random, like Abigail saying like barge, like a pirate type thing. Very like early 2010s kind of humour when people like draw mustaches on their finger type thing, you know. So I'm glad it got taken out. I don't think it's that funny. And then our last thing to cover is where he says, I built a snow zombie, but Demetrius made me get rid of it. It was totally bogus of him. So what's going on with you? And that contrasts what he says in the finished game. So so this version, the pre-release version is Sunday, no hearts. But in the finished game, he will say 2 different versions of this line. One of them's at no hearts. One of them's at 6 hearts. So he'll say, with no hearts, I built a snow game, but Demetrius made me get rid of it. What's his problem? And then at 6 hearts, he'll add, yet Maru's cute little snowman goes unharmed. Ridiculous. And I think it's funny that, okay, number 1, Snow Goon was Snow Zombie. How the fuck do you mean? How detailed is this snowman to the point where you can tell it's a zombie. Crazy. Maybe if he covered it in like blood, then that would make sense that Demetrius got rid of it. And I think it's funny that he says it was totally bogus of him. It's totally bogus of him. As opposed to just like, what's his problem? It's totally bogus. It's not chill, man. It was not bitching whatsoever. This is really funny. And he says like, LOL. That's another like, thing that makes him seem like a kind of computery guy, is that he's like, oh, he's saying chat speak in real life. But then bogus to me, bogus to me doesn't make me think of like a computery guy. Bogus to me makes me think of like a stoner or something. Like, oh man, that's totally bogus. He took my weed away from me. I don't know. Just doesn't give a very Sebastian vibe. But I think that that's really funny. It's totally bogus of him, man. He's not even my real dad. All right, well, that was Sebastian. I like a lot of old Sebastian. It's funny with Sam and Sebastian that they both seem to be the ones with the most lines that didn't like make the cut. And I like a lot of them. Oh, look at this. Mr. Quee. This isn't even an early. Mr. Quee. What is Sewer Guy? This doesn't seem to be related to anyone. Maybe this is an early version of Krobus, because Krobus himself, these files aren't pre-released. These are just the 1.07 files. These aren't like the weird ones that didn't end up in the game. Because Krobus is in here, and like that's a Krobus line that's also here for Sewer Guy. Have you encountered others like me in the mines? But then there's stuff like, you're the one who defeated the Shadow King. You slayed our king. So was there like a fucking boss battle in here at some point where you had to fight a Shadow King? I don't know, that's interesting though. Whew. God, if I ever release anything and then someone goes digging about in it and they're like, look at this first draft thing that they wrote. Nightmare. Sorry, Eric. So, last but not least, we are going to look at Shane. And Shane's one is different because Shane in the 4, because there's like the spring, summer, autumn, winter, as we've seen. They're all the same. I checked. They're all the same, which is weird. And then, not a single piece of this dialogue is surviving dialogue. Seems like he was completely different. Even though, the seed is the same. Because he has all of these Shane traits, as we'll see. We'll go through it. He has a lot of Shane-related traits. So, let's get cozy. Let's talk about Shane. Oh, I love him. Okay. So, his first meeting dialogue is, "Hi, I'm Shane. I'm living here with my aunt for the time being. Stop by if you want to hang out." On Mondays, he will say, "Tomorrow I go back to the city again to work at the stadium. I've got to surround myself with sports if I hope to break into the industry. Plus, I get to eat all the jalapeno chips I want." Monday at 4 Hearts, he would say, "Hey, buddy. Hey, player, I wish you could grow jalapenos on that farm of yours." And the little hat thing usually means gender change. Like, he would say this to a male player and he'd say this to a female player, but it might have meant something different at this point in development. Monday at 10 Hearts, he would say, "Hi, player, it's been a while. How are you doing? I've been doing well at my new job, but I always look forward to coming home on Mondays." And then this is what I assume is placeholder dialogue of like, oh, I need to write something in the future for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. So he says, "Me, Shane." Him, Shane. Him, Shane, indeed. On Friday, he will say, "Hey, I'm back. I just spent the last 3 days working at the stadium. We played some team from place." Yeah, so I guess this would also come from just like a random list of places. "It was a fun game." "What?" "Oh yeah, our team lost." "All right, I'm going to go put a frozen pizza in the oven or something." Saturday. "Sigh, I was just daydreaming about sports again. I really, really want to become a sports analyst. If I don't make it, I'm going to be crushed. That reminds me I need to update my sports website today." Saturday at 4 Hearts. "Oh, do you know that guy Josh? He thinks he's going to become a sports pro. At least my goals are a little bit more realistic." Saturday, 8 Hearts. "I'd like to start a small chicken farm someday. Well, I guess I'd like to have a large supply of jalapeno chips and pizza too." Oh, sorry, I was getting carried away. The amount of times someone has said, "I'm getting carried away," it's like 4 at this point. Sunday, "I like staying here because I get to be around chickens. I like how excitable chickens are. Each one has a different personality, just like people. Maybe if I don't make it as a sports analyst, I will become a chicken man, whatever that means." I love that line. I think that's so funny. I'll become a chicken man, whatever that means. Amazing. Sunday, 6 Hearts. "I do like chickens, but I don't want to live with my aunt forever. Oh well." And then references to an event that doesn't exist, where he says, "Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I should focus on something more practical like chicken farming." Or he says, "Really, it makes me so nervous, but I want to do it." So, yeah, different version of Shane. Clearly still the same guy because he talks about frozen pizza, chickens, sports, spicy food, living with his aunt. But yeah, he's a lot younger, more naive, more kind of pep in his step. He seems kind of Sam-coded in that he's just like saying like random non-sequiturs, like here where he says, "All right, I'm going to go put a frozen pizza in the oven." And he's also quite friendly. Yeah, he says, "It's been a while, how are you doing?" Imagine Shane, concrete Shane, saying something like that. "It's been a while, how are you doing? What have you been up to?" Instead of just like, "Go away." It's nuts. He says he likes how excitable the chickens are as well. Yeah, so this version of him, yeah, kind of Sam coded, kind of like young and naive, optimistic, hopeful, ambitious. He has a sports website because he wants to become a sports analyst. So yeah, he's a bit of a go-getter. He's like proactive, I guess, in making this dream happen. And he works at a stadium 3 days a week, I think. Yeah, he's working there to break into the industry. Yeah, so he's quite proactive in his career ambitions at this point. Yeah, which suggests to me that he's intended to be a lot younger. And then this event, the way that the event dialogue is structured in these files, it seems like what happens is the character will ask a question, you will respond, and then based on your response, that's the dialogue that they say here. So he asks you presumably something, you respond, and then this is his response to your response. So maybe he says to you, like, is it crazy to think that I could be a sports analyst? And you can say, yeah, it is a bit crazy. And he would say, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I should focus on something more practical. And then if you go, follow your dreams, he would go, really, it makes me so nervous, but I want to do it. I think that makes sense as an early heart event. So yeah, because this obviously wasn't finished, because it still says me, Shane. So yeah, I wonder if there would have been more events about his career ambitions. I'm quite fond of him though at this point. Original Shane. I'm quite fond of him. In my mind, very unofficially, in my personal mind, the mind that is my own. It's not really Shane. I don't know if I would see younger Shane being so different to how he is now. Because this guy is very peppy. He is full on. He is golden retriever, hardcore wants to be your friend, proactive kind of guy. I don't know if I would see Shane ever being so different to as he is now. So I don't necessarily see this as like a younger version of him. I guess I see this as like an alternate universe, younger version of him, you know? Either way, there's enough Shane in there that I'm quite fond of him. All right, so we have reached the end of our deep dive into, well, it wasn't that deep of a dive, was it? It was quite shallow. Our paddle into the pre-release dialogue of Stardew Valley. Yeah, I think that this is really interesting. Like, we can't really know what like stage of development it was from. I think I would need to do either a lot of research or like reach out to some people to figure that out. And I'm not really interested in doing that. I just like to look at it and judge it. I'm judgy. I'm nosy, and I hope that you are too. It's the best way to be as a person. In low stakes situation like this, right? Yeah, I don't have any big analytical thoughts for you. I just think some of them are really funny. The one about Emily, was it like I'm gonna look that up again. I think we should do like a hall of fame of like all the best ones. We're all just colourful little feathers on the great eagle of life. We gotta have love for each other if we want to soar. That's the message that I will leave you with today, is that we are all just colourful little feathers on the great eagle of life. You have to have love for each other if we're gonna soar. We get a tattoo, just one big long tattoo that goes down my whole arm. And says that whole quote. And then there'll be a big eagle or something, I don't know. So yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts about this early dialogue. What was your favourite line? And why was it Sam going, chee? That's my personal favourite, I think. It's just iconic. Or Sebastian going, LOL. Maybe if this was 100 years ago. Some of us like to listen to smooth jazz and boogie woogie, Sebastian. Like, chill out, please. Thank you for watching my YouTube video. I hope that you have a good day. All right, I'll see you later, homies. Homie.